Hi, my name is Saint Deadioba. I'm the architect of the YourDay Balance Game. I'm also one of the transformation coaches in this game.
I'm Matthew Bivens. I'm a transformation specialist and balanced lifestyle coach in the YourDay Balance Game.
Today, I want to talk about a lot of the feedback we're getting from the women we coach, because we're both transformation coaches and we talk to a lot of women. And after a while, you hear patterns and patterns and patterns. And one of those patterns is narcissism. So today, we're going to talk about women who experience men as narcissistic, and how do we make sure we don't show up as narcissists? Or is someone else saying that, is someone else calling us a narcissist? So we just want to give you our take on it as coaches and how we deal with that possibility of being branded as a narcissist. You know what I mean?
Yep.
One thing Matthew asked is, wow, I never thought about, is someone out there thinking I'm a narcissist, or no one's ever called me a narcissist? Say more about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've experienced in the people we've had the pleasure of working with, where they have this pain point of feeling like they have a narcissist in their life. And they may have told that individual that they are a narcissist, or maybe others have told them. So I just reflected on myself because I've never been called a narcissist myself. And I thought, I'm curious if somebody has felt I was coming across that way, and maybe they just didn't say it to me. Like, what were some of the behaviors or ways that I presented that a person could have viewed as narcissistic that maybe they just never told me to my face, but that's how they experienced me, and just had me self-reflect for a little bit around this topic of narcissism and where I might have displayed some of those things if I have in my past.
That's a great question. I'm going to read a couple of the clear signs of narcissism according to this article, and everyone has different opinions of it, but this will give you an idea. A grandiose sense of self-importance. A narcissist is someone who has a grandiose sense of self-importance. What comes up for you? How do you display that, or how do you avoid displaying that? That's my question to you, and then I'll share with you how I feel about it.
Yeah, grandiose sense of self-importance would be an individual who views themselves as higher or better or than other people.
How do you avoid that? Like, how do you avoid feeling that? Because you put a lot of work into your education. You put a lot of work into your body. You learned a lot about transformation. You're moving at a whole different speed than the average man. How do you not view yourself as powerful, or how does that not collapse the line of you're more important? How do you keep that in check?
Well, humility, doing things that are humbling, seeking out feedback from other people and humbling yourself to their feedback. Because the person with the grandiose sense of self probably doesn't want to hear or doesn't care about or doesn't value other people's opinion on him. They most likely are not seeking out feedback in areas where they might have blind spots or opportunities to work on themselves. And so that for me is one of the ways that I kind of keep that ego in check, is by recognizing that there are so many things I don't know. Right? There's what I know, there's what I don't know, and then there's what I don't know. And it's having people in my life who can give me feedback, who can help spot my blind spots. That keeps me humble, keeps that ego in check. And then also always being a student as well as a teacher, like constantly learning. So approaching things from that beginner mindset to learn things and realizing that I don't know everything. Those are the ways that a person can help to humble themselves and keep the ego in check, so you don't start to get this overinflated sense of self.
On my end, thank you. On my end, one thing I always tell myself, because sometimes when someone's talking to you, they're going to project on you. They can be intimidated by your confidence or your clarity, because the more and more you play, you become clear and convicted about what you're clear about. So it can come off as, intimidating somebody depending on where they come from. So how do you deal with somebody who might be intimidated by the power in which you move with and the conviction you move with, without attempting to dim your light?
That's a great question. There's a lot of ways to approach it. I'm curious, for you, how have you dealt with that in your experience when people have come at you in that way?
Because that was a question, that was what I was about to answer. So great, I'm glad you turned it back on me. One thing I do to measure who I'm being is someone who has a grandiose sense about themselves. There's not a lot of people that will grow in their presence. they're wanting everyone's admiration so they keep growing. But if you can make sure that other people grow in your presence, that they become their greatest version, that's a way you check yourself. Like, you got to be able to grow in my presence. And that helps minimize that it's all about me being this. It's like, are you creating leaders? Are you creating people who are tapping into their greater version? And if you're doing that, then it's okay if people try to project on you and talk about you, because that's what we do. We only share how we feel about you from our own perspective. So sometimes people project.
Yeah.
But so you got to be able to trust yourself that who you're being is on path and it's not overinflated. So my thing is really making sure that our people growing spiritually, mentally, emotionally, socially, and physically around me, and sexually, all those, are they growing? And as long as you're growing that way, I can take whatever feedback you give me, as long as you become a greater version.
Yeah, I get that. It makes sense because people are going to think what they're going to think.
Yes.
They're going to say what they're going to say.
Yes.
And, you know, it reminds me of Don Miguel Ruiz, 4 Agreements, don't take things personally. That it's easy to take something personally when somebody calls you whatever it is they want to call you. So, and I also see the challenge almost in the balance between feeling like as if viewing it like somebody's projecting versus then asking yourself, okay, where am I actually showing up in these ways? Like, there is a balance between that. But I love how you said one of the indicators is other people growing in your presence, right? Because that grandiose sense of self, it is about you, and it isn't really about what happens to other people. It's what can you give to me to feed my ego, inflate my sense of self, and that individual is probably not too concerned with how other people are growing and transforming in their presence.
So ain't that a cool indicator to keep you kind of like in check?
Yeah, I like that
Because
one.
we all have the tendency to go off on any of these paths.